This is part 2 of a 2-part review. To catch part 1, click here. So, since this movie is so repetitive, we can skip over most of it. They meet a new brother, visit a new town, and pull off a new heist. Then they meet a new brother, visit a new town, and pull off a new heist. And then, in a shocking twist, they meet 2 new brothers, visit a new town, and plan a new heist. Who saw that coming? In a way, this movie is structured like a shitty video game. It's just fetch quest after fetch quest. While I was able to sum up an hour and 30 minutes of the movie in about 30 seconds, I did skip over most of the random cameos and pointless scenes. The brothers seem to jump from skit to skit. It's as if Sandler had a bunch of ideas for a Western-themed variety show and thought, fuck it, I'll just throw them in a movie instead. Now don't get me wrong, there is a loose plot connecting these scenes. The brothers have to find some gold or pull off a heist or get a cameo or whatever. We get our obligatory scene with David, 3 lines in the movie to justify this as a business expense, Spade, which also features Vanilla, they couldn't afford to pay me to rap, Ice. So, since this movie is so repetitive, we can skip over most of it. The brothers end up finding their dad. They have this weird showdown and then the rest of the gang is paid off and then twist and then the dad's the bad guy, etc, showdown, etc. Fuck. Finally the movie is over. Vanilla Ice is back, because why the fuck not, but they still can't afford to pay him to rap. But don't get me wrong, Ridiculous 6 isn't just a boring and unfunny movie. It's also really badly made. The characters all make nonsensical decisions, and the time period the movie is set in just seems to make no sense. Wyatt Earp lives in Tombstone, where he moved in 1879, but General Custer died in 1876, and they're in the same scene. I mean, I understand that this shouldn't be as big of an issue when it's compared to all the other stuff that's wrong with this movie, but it still annoys me for some reason. Anyway, since we're being pretty harsh on this movie, let's talk about some of the positives. Moving on, it almost seems like this would almost be a good movie for kids. The humour is so juvenile for most of the movie, but then there are so many swear words and gory action and just downright despicable things. This movie isn't for kids, but it's also not really funny for adults. I don't know who it's aimed at. Speaking of what this movie is, I feel like if it had a competent editor and director, it actually could have been funny. There is a lot of absurd humour that could really work in the movie if it wasn't constantly being dragged down by the lowbrow stuff. I almost laughed at a bunch of stuff that the characters did, like holding up a severed head, or holding up a severed bag of eyeballs, or holding up other random objects. I don't know, I guess I just want this movie to be Blazing Saddles. All in all, it's kind of absurd that this movie got made at all. While Netflix originals aren't all hits, generally they do have at least a minimum level of quality. Surely someone at Netflix saw this script and realised that this was a terrible idea. And speaking of terrible ideas, don't forget the Adam Sandler Netflix deal still has 3 more movies to come. God help us all.